Okay, so good morning. Thank you for tuning in to the final session of our three-part series with Illinois Realtors. My name is Marlena Scott. We have some great discussions lined up for you today. If you were able to attend the first two sessions that we had, you'll find that today will really round out all of the great information that we've been able to share. I have a couple of housekeeping items. The Q&A chat feature will be live during this session, so make sure you place any questions that you have in the chat window. Make sure that it is addressed to all panelists so we can see all the questions. Due to time, we may not get to all of the questions, but we want you to make sure that, or to know that we will follow up with you after the webinar to provide those answers for you. So just a little bit about my role. I am Affordable Lending Business Development Manager. I work with real estate professionals across the country to educate on Freddie Mac's affordable housing solutions for low to moderate income as well as first-time home buyers. Thanks again for tuning in. So next slide, please. Thank you. So the title of today's series is Staying Home. In today's environment, that means many different things. Today we're going to be talking about preserving home and helping people get into home. It really does take a village, and Freddie Mac recognizes that. We created an initiative early last year called All for Home, which outlines the affordable ecosystem that helps so many achieve affordable and sustainable homeownership. There are many key players, as you can see on the screen, within our ecosystem. And you, the realtor, are really at the center of it all. What you do interweaves into so many of the other pieces of the ecosystem. All of you have a common goal, which is to help clients achieve homeownership, help your communities increase homeownership, and as of the last several years, to help really address and bridge those gaps that we are seeing specifically in the minority communities. You, the realtor, are the trusted advisor, and at times wearing many different hats, especially now. Many of you have probably been confronted with the challenges in your day-to-day work as your clients past and present are potentially leaning on you for additional information regarding housing preservation resources and how to stay at home, curious to how to achieve homeownership in these really different, ever-changing environments. So the information we plan to unpack today will really help you leverage some of those additional local resources. Today we're going to be hearing from subject matter experts at the State Housing Finance Agency, as well as local housing counselors, to discuss their role in this all-for-home ecosystem. They will identify how they help clients navigate these uncharted waters, solutions for bridging homeownership gaps within the minority communities, and lower down payment solutions available to help more achieve home. Next slide, please. So with that, I'd like to introduce our first panel discussion today. It will feature Illinois Housing Development Authority Managing Director Tara Pavlik and our Freddie Mac Housing Finance Agency Affordable Lending Manager Sam Noel. He's a subject matter expert in this area as well. They both have a wealth of knowledge in the industry, and I want to thank you both for joining. Sam, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, good morning, and Marlena, and thank you for that. I appreciate it. And it's exciting to be here today. I am looking to see if Tara has put on her camera. Tara, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So, yeah, I'm excited about this first part of discussion. And first of all, Illinois Realtors, thank you for joining in today. My name is Sam Noel. As Marlena said, I'm an affordable lending manager with a specialty with our housing finance agencies, and I have the pleasure of being a great partner with the Illinois Housing Development Authority. So, Tara, thank you for being here and your leadership and what you do for the state of Illinois. So, I'd love to be able to just start out with a little bit, Tara, a little bit about you and your briefly your role at the agency. Good morning again.
Good morning. So again, my name is Tara Pavlik. I'm the Managing Director of the Homeownership Department at the Illinois Housing Development Authority, IDA. We basically work with, I see a bunch of different sides of it, but we have a servicing area. We also have an origination. We work about 150 lenders across the state. This year, and I'm guessing a lot of realtors are seeing this too. Originations are going crazy. People are buying a lot of homes this year. But we usually help anywhere between 6,000 to 8,000 families a year purchase their first home or a repeat home within our income and purchase price limit. So it's really awesome to be able to see and get some stories from people. We work with a lot of housing counseling agencies as well to make sure that people, before they buy their home, are prepared to purchase their home and know what to do when they're in trouble and know how to reach out. So, yeah. And I've been with the authority for about 10 years, so. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. You and I both know the impact that housing finance agencies make when it comes to affordable lending and helping families create sustainable home ownership. So we're going to take a deeper dive on that for our friends over at Illinois Realtors today, so they can get even a deeper understanding of today. So I'm excited about this. You ready to do this?
I'm ready.
Awesome. So let's take a next look. So Tara, when I think about what is the value proposition of Illinois housing, and I think about all the great things that you do and you help families get into homes. But if I'm the realtor, I want to make sure you get me real clear and comfortable in terms of using your product and services. Because, let's just be honest, a lot of times these myths are still out there about, oh gosh, it adds too long to the process and you can't close on time, and these loans take, 60 and 90 days to close, and it sounds great for the customer, but obviously I've got to make a living, and it's just hard for me to do that kind of business. I know, I'm not sure, I'd be curious to know, in terms of are rates really that good and that different than, if I would just go through a traditional mortgage sense? Does the down payment make that much of an impact? Could they just get, money from somewhere else? Does your down payment assistance really make that part of an impact? So I say that, Tara, because I know you hear these things, and you probably heard these things since you've been with the agency. Can you talk?
I've never heard any of that. Never, ever.
Never heard any of this.
Never.
So talk to me. If I'm Illinois Realtor, what's the value proposition in terms of why I want to do business with Illinois Housing? Would you help me with that, using those kind of bullet points as a framework?
Yeah, a couple of things. So one thing is, we generally hear too, I'm sure realtors have heard this as well, IDA's out of money. IDA has not run out of money. We're not going to run out of money. We've got plenty of money. We're a quasi-state agency, so just because the state has one thing, IDA is different. We're not running out of money. We do change our programs. That's one. Two, and as we change programs, we just move money to new programs. Number two is that we do not look at any loans until after they close, meaning IDA doesn't hold up any loans. We don't hold up any processes. We don't hold up anything. We actually don't even look at loans until after they're closed and funded and the borrower's already in the home. We do take reservations just like any other lock. As far as our rates go, what's really interesting, we're usually like in the market, maybe a quarter point higher than market. But after COVID hit, like in March, when a bunch of lenders kind of went, ooh, and got all scared and nervous, our rates just went lower. People want to purchase loans for low and affordable housing. You have reached the maximum time permitted for recording your message. If you are satisfied with your message, press 1. To listen to your message, press 2. To erase and re-record, press 3. I don't know what that is, but okay.
I don't either.
So that was from this call. Are you still there? You have reached the maximum time permitted for recording your message. Okay.
Okay, somebody got it. Okay, go ahead. Continue, please.
Sorry about that. So yeah, our rates were actually lower than market. So we were sitting at 2.75 on FHA and around like 3.25 on conventional, which is really good. Our down payment assistance, I've heard people say, well, we don't want borrowers to have no skin in the game. Well, if I'm a lender or a bank, do I want people to have the no skin? We do require everybody to put 1,000 or 1% down, or do we want people to have reserves in the bank? So we have a lot of people that use our down payment assistance, but, in the counseling agencies, they'll probably tell you this too, but like if you don't have reserves, that's a scarier thing than you putting down that extra couple of $1,000s on the loan. I mean, that's why IDA's there. We support low to moderate income households to purchase homes. We do have a lot of borrowers that still have money in the bank, and I love seeing that. Their risk of default is so much lower. So for realtors' perspective, for housing counseling agencies, for Freddie Mac, you know, to have those extra reserves in the bank is a really big thing. So processing an IDA loan doesn't take any more time. It's 6 sheets of paper. We have our doc sets. We actually created a landing page for IDA mortgage so that it was really easy for lenders and realtors to go in and get the information you want or need. We've got emails and phone numbers. Reach out to us. We're always available. So all the stories you've heard about something slower with IDA is not true.
You know what? I'm going to call you Miss. I'm going to call you Mrs. Mythbuster after this.
There you go. I am next to it, so I would like that actually. So that's perfect.
Awesome. No, that's great because it just sets the tone in terms of really the impact you really make without all the hiccups and the hurdles that a realtor may think, Tara. That's really the key. So thank you for clearing all that up. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Let's go ahead and take a look on. You know, so I think this is a great landscape from a national perspective, Tara. You and I shared this slide before. And a lot of times, real estate professionals may feel, gosh, my borrowers are not going to qualify for this income because they either think they make too less or they make too much. And it just doesn't make sense for me. Underserved. And so I just want to quickly highlight before I turn over to you, Tara, that, you know, on average, you're talking about 57,000, you know, 57,000 in terms of household income is the median income for single family borrowers when it comes to HFAs. I think that's phenomenal. And we know that's higher in certain markets as well. In that first time home buyer range, we're looking at about 75K, and then just in general, about 91K. So Tara, I'd love for you to talk about when you look at your household income and the borrowers that you're serving today, talk a little bit about where your income stand and who's really obtaining this loan on all spectrums of the scale. So would you help us with that today?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. Our average household income is right at $57,000. So kind of funny that at national, we are actually right there. Some of the things that we've recently changed, and it did take us a while to get it changed, about 2 years, is that generally we always did, we would use household income of all home buyers or everybody that lived in the household 18 and older and use their income. About 4 months ago, we were able to get a little bit more progressive in our way of thinking and our way of underwriting that, you know what, you may have, a husband and a wife that are both working, or, you know, a wife, husband that are both working, but then they're also paying out daycare. So it's not really optically that it always works for us. So we were able to get the rules changed. And so now we count qualifying income, which is the same as Freddie Mac uses for your household income calculation, which kind of keeps us in line with the market easier. It helps realtors to be able to say, like, hey, this might be one of the households that may work really well in, you know, using some of these down payment assistance programs. So it used to be that IDA was really, you know, hitting people for having dual incomes in a household. So we were mostly working with single households or, you know, single people in households. And we're starting to see that shift a little bit. So it'll be exciting to see in the next year how that comes about. Our average purchase price a year ago was around $138,000. It has jumped up drastically, about $20,000 in the last 6 to 9 months. So we're around $150,000 is our average purchase price right now. So I think those numbers, again, we'll wait to see kind of how they pan out in the next 12 months, because some of our lenders are still thinking we're using everybody's income to count for a household, and some aren't. But what we didn't want to do is continue to negatively impact households with dual income that are also paying out an arm and a leg for daycare. I mean, a house looks cheap in comparison to daycare at this point, right? I mean, You can get for under $1,000 a month with taxes and insurance, but try and get daycare for 3 kids for that. So we've tried to work with that a little bit, and I think we'll see over the next 12 months how that goes. But yeah, our average income that last we looked at was 57,000, like spot on. I just think that's shocking that across the country that we're in line with that. So Chicago has actually become a little bit more affordable in terms of housing goes. Taxes maybe not so much, but housing a little bit more.
I think that's huge, and you really dispelled another myth, right? Because a lot of times it is a slippery slope between household income and qualifying income and which one. So when an Illinois realtor refers that to one of your participating lenders, we want to make sure that they're calculating it right because they want them to qualify as best as possible. I appreciate you clearing that up because it can be confusing.
Yep, for sure.
Awesome. So thank you for that. Let's go ahead and move on. This is getting good. So you know what? This is, when I look at this slide, this is of course on a national scale, Tara, and I step back and say, what significant income does, the impact that HFAs have made as it relates to increasing minority home ownership in this country. I think it's absolutely key. And a lot of people don't realize when we're talking about tools and resources that HFAs on this slope has generally been, especially during our probably one of our darkest times around the 2008-2009 crisis. Look in terms of how HFAs thrived even that time. So I would love to be able to hear from you from a local level, Tara, just the impact that Illinois housing has had as it relates to increasing minority home ownership and diversity among your portfolio. Would you expound on that a little bit, please?
Yeah, so, I think I saw this from Nick Shaw or something, a similar type of graph. And what's really interesting, I do want to point this out, is that if for those of you who have been around in this business maybe a little bit too long, self-included, around 2004, there was a significant shift in the way that data was recorded on the 1003 application. And so it's interesting because you can see these direct hits, and I think 2008 or 2007 might have been the other one, right, with the GFE. So it's just interesting that at those exact marks, something changes. And then you can see again, 2014, 2015, when we had those TRID changes. And you just wonder, like, how is that impacting? Like, why are these point breaks of application changes that affect us? It's just interesting, and I just wanted to say that. I don't have the answer. I don't really know, but it's just interesting that that's where these two are colliding. There has to be significance in there, and I just wonder what that is. As far as IDA is concerned, when we're watching our originations, we are actually, for Hispanic and Latino, we serve about 21% of our applications come in as Hispanic or Latino compared against the state average, I believe, please don't quote me on these numbers, but like around 18-19% that identify ethnicity as Hispanic or Latino. And then for African American, or we have there at 21.6%. Actually, let me pull that up. Hold on. Don't use that number yet. Hold on. There's about 21.6%. In comparison to the state population of 16%. We are continuing to look at that to see better ways and more ways that we can help more communities across the state. Sorry, I just want to pull this up to make sure I'm quoting the right number. Sorry, yeah, we're at 20.5%
Nice.
For Black households, and then for Hispanic and Latino, we were at 22.1%. So we do serve higher than the state population piece, but I think there's a lot more that goes into those numbers that we are continuing to look at and dive into and find more ways. We want to find more ways to help more qualified households become homeowners and help them in that process. So we're definitely looking at more ways to do that. And some more programs and products and stuff like that. So we're continuing. We're always loving to hear feedback. So if somebody's got an idea or some way they think that we could help better, like, send it to us. I mean, if there's a way we can do it and it works and it makes sense, like, we're all over it. So we love getting feedback. So any ideas people have, we'd love to continue to see it. But I am liking to see that the HFAs continue to serve more populations. But again, I think that 30% number, everyone would like to see that number higher than that. So
Absolutely.
there's a lot of national level on that too, so which is good.
Yeah, but based on your numbers, it just shows you that, you know, you guys are impacting that within Illinois, and kudos to you and your team and your participating lenders, Illinois Realtors and others, to make minority home ownership possible for families of Illinois. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's take a last look. You know, so I think this is really great because, you know, what a good way to end this, Sarah, because I think about all of these quick did you knows and the impacts that HFAs and particularly Illinois and what you and your team do. Mm-hmm. And so we see these great numbers as it relates to, you know, on average, average purchase price. You know, people don't think that average purchase price, we're helping families that, have a house almost at $230,000. Everybody thinks that, we're doing homes at $40,000 and $50,000, right? So I'd love for you to put your perspective a little bit on this. We can see at a glance what this is at a state level. I'd love for you to help me out. Tell us a little bit about the impact you're making on these percentages and how you're helping home ownership today.
Yeah. So I'm just going to start at the top and kind of roll down. Except for the number of single-family loans financed, like I said, I'll just go from the top down on some of these stats that you had. So
awesome.
Yeah. So on the top one, like I mentioned, IDA does between 6,000 to 8,000 loans a year. This year is just going crazy. We are $300 million ahead in reservations that we were the same time last year. And I'll be interested to hear from builder organizations and from everybody else too of how they're coming up with that, because we're hearing different, pent up demand. We're hearing all sorts of reasons as to why, but I will be excited in these presentations to hear some people coming up with that. Our average purchase price, like I said, we're right around the $150,000 mark. 99.9% of our borrowers utilize us for our DPA. Going back to if they don't have to create 6 more pages of paperwork, lenders don't want to. So pretty much they're coming to us for DPA. They're not coming to us just for the first mortgage. Average amount of down payment assistance, we have a program that does 4% up to $6,000. We're right at that $6,000 because of our average purchase price. To the fact, we just went to board last week to get another $10 million for down payment assistance for our program, which is great. Borrowers below 100% AMI, actually, I'm going to say IDA is actually 72%, but it's below 80%. But it's below 80% AMI. So we are actually serving a lower AMI with same percentages as the rest of the country. So, which is really good. Yeah, and so again, the percentage of loans made to minority borrowers, we're right around the 40% mark at this point. But again, we're continuing to dive into those numbers to bring some clarity into there too. They're great numbers, but we want to get more to see how we can help more. Female heads of household. So this is interesting. We've got about a 45-55 split. So we actually, about 55% of our borrowers, the primary borrower is male and 45% is female. So I think we're actually ahead in Illinois on that. So, yay.
Right. Yay. Yay.
So, Illinois got a lot of good things going for it.
Because women, Tara, because women are smarter. It's just that simple.
I wasn't going to say that, but, but no, I love all this. This is like great information, and it's nice to see how we compare. But,
Sure.
I think it's good. I think we've got some great people in Illinois, and it was great.
It would make an impact. So Tara, tell me then, obviously the Realtors has heard some really good stuff. They heard you went through all the myths and the reasons why you can do business with, there's no hold up, there's no added time. Mm-hmm. Their families will get these programs and they will close in normal market times. Yeah. You've heard the great things about your income, and how you're helping families even with those higher incomes, which is fantastic. How you're impacting minority home ownership, and then you just gave us some great data at large in terms of just how you're impacting at the state level with these facts. So Tara, my last question I'll just ask you is, I know the realtors are scratching their head saying, oh my gosh, if I'm not doing business today with you, how do I start getting business? How do I start getting business over to you so my bars can get with your lenders and get this down payment money and get these really good rates? Tell me how to do that today.
So the first part is go to idamortgage.org. Everything is on there. Our top lenders are on there to reach out. We do trainings all the time. So if you've got a realtor group that you want us to work with or to do a training, we can do, right now we're doing Zoom trainings and Teams trainings, but we can do trainings, we can do flyers. If there's a business or there's a lot of employers looking for added benefits. And if you're one of those realtors that brings that added benefit to those employers, that's another little thing that people are starting to do now. So we're getting called in to show up at, employers for meetings about our down payment assistance to bring people to their companies, even though it's free. It doesn't cost anybody anything to use our stuff. Just stuff like that. But first off, idamortgage.org, reach out. You can email us. There's everybody's phone numbers on there too. We're actually really easy to get a hold of and reach. So give a call.
That's great. You talked about trainings. I thought about our friends coming up here soon with Sandra, with our friends from with Margaret and with Deborah. So I know those are your buddies on the housing counseling side. So it's going to be exciting to hear from them in terms of how you all work together as well. So Tara, I want to thank you for your time today. I know this was valuable. I hope Illinois Realtors, I hope you felt this was valuable, a part of it, but hang on to your seat. We're not done. We still got some good stuff up. So with that, Marlena, I'm going to turn it back to you. That was awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Tammy and Tara. That was amazing. I do have one question that came through the chat. So we know that there have been changes and different things shifting since the COVID-19. One realtor asked, what do you do if all of a sudden the lender has now given information that the program is no longer available? Should they reach out to IDA directly just to make sure that they're not missing any opportunities to get more people in home due to the impact of the pandemic?
Yeah, they can reach out. They can reach out directly to us or find another IDA lender. What sometimes happens, especially when people are freaked out in that March, April time period, there were definitely some lenders that put overlay on our programs, even though we didn't increase our overlays, we didn't cut anything, we didn't change anything. We actually were there to support lenders even more. Lenders who don't offer our program will often say that IDA is out of money, which isn't true again. But they can reach out to us directly, and then we can clarify that. And then if they decide to find another lender, they can do that as well. So unfortunately, the rumors we can't stop unless they reach out to us directly. And we'll always let them know, we're not out of money, we're good, and to reach out to a different lender.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And thank you both again. We learned a lot of great information today and appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right. So speaking of ladies, leading off where Tara and Sammy left off, we have three ladies that are going to be joining us. We have Sandra Heidinger, who's an affordable lending manager here at Freddie Mac, as well as Margaret Wooten, Vice President of Chicago Urban League, and Deborah Moore, Director of NHS Chicago. These women have a wealth of knowledge, and they also have known each other for a long time. So Sandra, I will let you take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Marlena. And I really want to take a moment to thank these lovely ladies for sharing their time with us this morning. And Margaret, could you press on your camera button so we can see your beautiful face? I see Deborah out there.
Can you see me now? No?
No. Okay, I see you, and then Deborah disappeared. Are you guys playing peekaboo with me?
No, because I don't know how.
Oh, goodness. Deborah, where did you go?
My camera's on.
There we both are. All righty. Well, again, I just want to thank both of these beautiful ladies for taking the time and sharing their expertise with us this morning. As you heard Marlena at the very start talking about how it really does take a village to make home possible in our communities, right? These two ladies are definitely a part of that village that makes it happen. With that, I'd like to take a few minutes at the start for each of you to just introduce yourselves. I mean, Marlena has done the initial intro, but tell us about yourself, your organization, and your role at your respective companies. Deborah, why don't we start with you?
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Sandra. I'm Deborah Moore. I'm the Director of Neighborhood Strategy at NHS Chicago. I've been with the organization over 20 years and in the housing industry for over 30 years. And that's because I'm very, very passionate about home ownership as a way of wealth creation and neighborhood stability. Neighborhood Housing Services of Chicago, fondly known as NHS, is a nonprofit neighborhood revitalization organization. We were established in 1975 and have been committed since then in helping individuals and families while strengthening neighborhoods throughout Chicago and the South Suburban Cook County area. Our mission is to create opportunities for people to live in homes they can afford, improve their lives, especially their financial situation, and strengthen the neighborhoods they live in. Now, NHS does this in 5 ways. 1, we educate and prepare new homeowners for success. 2, we lend to people to help them buy, fix, and keep their homes. 3, we sustain home ownership through foreclosure intervention and services to lower monthly housing costs, like your homeowners exemptions and cost comparison for home insurance. 4, we preserve and rehab and invest in 1 to 4 unit vacant or deteriorated properties. And lastly, we build powerful, enduring partnerships. And speaking of partnerships, NHS has a devoted partner with Freddie Mac for over a decade. Together, we have working to strengthen low and moderate income households and communities of color across the Chicagoland area. 1 is through the Freddie Mac Borrower Help Center, and that's to help individuals strengthen their financial position as they prepare for the homeownership journey. The Freddie Mac Block by Block initiative is an innovative framework to strengthen communities still struggling to recover from the past economic housing crisis. And I'll go into a little more detail on those initiatives a little bit later. But my work at NHS is around our place-based initiatives. We work in 6 geographies in the city of Chicago and in the 34 municipalities in the south suburbs. We have a program coordinator that works in my department in each of those areas to coordinate and refer potential buyers to all of the services that they will need to become successful home buyers. Thank you, Sandra.
Awesome. Thank you. I mean, I know you guys do such fabulous work. I mean, it's awesome. I applaud you. Margaret, tell us about you. Your organization and your role.
Okay, well, thank you, Sandra. Good morning to everybody. Again, my name is Margaret Wooten. I am Vice President of our Housing and Financial Empowerment Center at the Chicago Urban League. I've been with the Urban League for 32 years. And I'm very well acquainted, of course, with my colleague, with Deborah Moore, and certainly with Freddie Mac. At the Urban League, our mission is to, we believe that a stronger African American makes a stronger Chicago. And so we set out to ensure that we're providing services to the African American community and people of color, communities that would strengthen their ability to become homeowners.
so that we are set up to pass on legacies like other nationalities do. We are also a IDA participant. We participate with IDA, our Illinois Housing Development Authority. They partner with us. We partner with them, as well as the City of Chicago Delegate Agency. And we are an affiliate of our National Urban League out of New York. One of our other programs that I participate in is, of course, Freddie, where we have the Take Root Chicago program. Take Root Chicago is a program where we connect Freddie lenders with realtors and the community so we can provide more affordable tools and access to the mortgage tools for the African American and people of color community. We offer all types of programming as it relates to housing. The main program that we offer, I should say, let me back up a little bit. At the Urban Week, we actually have 5 centers of excellence. And one of our centers is our Entrepreneurship Center. I invite you guys to go to our website and to look them up. They are a group of young people that are really awesome, fostering young African American and people of color into business, real business people. We also have our Center for Student Development, where we're servicing young African American students, providing scholarships for them. Before the pandemic, we would take them to China every year, free of charge, of course, as well as our workforce development program, where we're offering job training and have a hiring event on site. We have our other program by Angela Hamilton runs that program, and that's Human Technology Program, where we're dealing with students, dealing with their social and emotional journeys, if I may, so that we can make sure they're mentored and they can go through the normal as possible processes to further their education and also to provide assistance for them to go to college. We provide homeownership, the same as my colleague Deborah has mentioned. Deborah and I worked together for many years, and that's why we're able to work so well together, because we both do the same thing. So we don't compete, we combine, so we can make sure we provide information to our community. One of our most, let me just say that asset building for the African American is huge. It's a key driver for us to stabilize ourselves in the community as it relates to homeownership. Many times, rents that we pay are way in excess of what a mortgage payment would be. And so we want to educate our community on how to become homeowners. And so we provide first-time homebuyer counseling. After that, we provide financial empowerment, which is your credit and your budgeting. Then after that, we will provide one-on-one. Both of those are workshops. So then we get to the one-on-one where we're looking at you as an individual, how you look on paper, how much house you can afford based on your net. We use your net, not your gross. And we just basically look at you, so you'll have an understanding, a good understanding of how much money your household budget is, you're bringing in, and how much home or the mortgage you can actually afford.
Wow. The great work that you guys do as well. I mean, these two organizations, I mean, I may be a little biased, but I mean, there's a lot of great organizations here in these areas, in the area. But both of these ladies and their organizations do such great work. So, all right, well, I think we've all heard about this little thing that's kind of going around right now, this little thing called COVID.
Yeah.
You know, and given all the work that you guys have done in past, I'm sure you guys have had to pivot, and it's like, oh my God, how am I going to continue this work now in this new environment? Everybody's got to stay home, but if people are buying homes, how do we still do what we do and do our outreach, you know, and be successful at that? Ladies, Deborah?
Yeah, so thanks. And it's good seeing you this morning, Margaret. Just wanted to say
Good to see you, sweetheart.
yeah, this COVID-19, this environment, I see it on both sides. So I see people who are still trying to pursue home ownership. They're still, trying to do something. And I saw in the chat box a little earlier. Somebody had mentioned that they had a client and the lender stopped working with them. So if we don't have access to credit, I don't know how we continue the work. We're still doing our home buying. We're still doing that virtually. We're still doing counseling over the telephone and over Zoom, just like the Chicago Urban League is doing. So we're still working with our customers, but the lenders' access to the capital is like paramount. So that's one of the things that I see. And then on the other side, I see, obviously the unemployment. And so with people with either shortened hours or declining wages, they're just kind of at a place where they don't know what's happening in the future. And we need to figure out how do we get them over that hurdle? How do we get them to move forward? Because they've seen the foreclosure crisis that happened, 10 years ago, and now this. And so people become a little timid about home ownership. So that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. I bet. And of course, knowing that home ownership is such a great way to help build wealth. I mean, and we want to keep that momentum going. So it's like, I've just got to keep getting to these folks. Margaret, your experiences.
Well, we're pretty much the same as Deborah is or was. It was like I felt like I had a major heart attack when it happened. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And so no one really expected. I never planned for this to happen. I have a housing counseling emergency plan, but virtual everything is not in it. And so I've learned a whole lot from this pandemic, and I certainly am going to pen a brand new housing counseling plan when we're done with this. But we were just thrust right into having to do everything virtually. And as a nonprofit organization, we didn't necessarily have all of the finances that, if I may, that we need to provide that counseling. The virtual counseling is not inexpensive. We still have to collect documents, and we have to have the ability for the clients to, we send them a document for them to sign it and send it back to us, which is not free. So when we were thrust into it, I just started working like, okay, this is it. Like a mom does when the family's in crisis. I say, let's go, guys. We got to make it happen. And that's pretty much what we did. So now we're all working from home. It's like we never had a 9 to 5, but we really don't have one now. But we were able to keep connection with our clients. Thank God for client management systems, because the files may be at the office, but we also have access to electronic files. And so we can reach everybody from home. So we're able to keep the flow going. We are having actually our first-time homebuyer class tonight, virtual, of course.
Awesome.
So if anyone wants that information, I can forward it on to you guys. But we're still doing the same classes. We're just doing it online. Oh, I'm sorry. We're about to launch with Desi, one of the realtors that work with Freddie Mac. She works at BMO. And we're about to launch virtual tours with her. So do you know how I like tours? I love tours because I want our people to see the homes and feel it and get excited about home ownership. So Desi is going to start doing virtual tours for our clients. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
And that's awesome. I mean, in this environment, we've got to be creative, and how are we doing that? And I know the both of you, if anything can be done, I know you two will make it happen. And it's awesome. So I know. Go ahead, Deborah. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say another thing that we were able to do during COVID, because even though we were crazy busy, as Margaret is explaining, just trying to get everybody to work from home, set up, make sure we had the internet on. With some people, we had to buy internet for. We started working, our homeownership department started working on a student loan class that we're going to be rolling out virtual. We figured this might be a good time for people to start looking at those student loans and thinking about how they can get those under control so it does not become a barrier to their affordability.
And that's awesome, because we know that is sometimes those things that kind of prohibit people from being able to purchase. And some of that is just a matter of sitting down with someone like yourselves to just provide that education to help them get through that piece. Because part of that, to your point, is keeping them from purchasing. And of course, we want to encourage that because we all know, I mean, there is such a huge gap in homeownership, right? Right between white homeownership and minority homeownership across the country. And as we look at this, I mean, we see these gaps. I mean, nationally, white homeownership is around 73%, right? Right. When we talk about minority homeownership, especially in the African American market, it's about a 30% gap, right, between that. Right. In the Latino market, it's around 25%. And as we look at these rates of the gap in homeownership, especially in the African American market, it's lower. It's lower than in 1968 when the Fair Housing Act was created and put into law. To prevent steering and redlining and discrimination, that sort of thing in housing, right? The housing rate right now, the gap is lower now than it was in 1968. And that's a sad statement to hear. And sometimes you have to say that to put the reality out there. And so what are some things that you guys, respectively, are doing to try to help close that gap in homeownership? Deborah?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Margaret. Either one. I'm sorry. Whoever wants to go first.
I bow to my colleague.
I just have 3 fundamental beliefs. First, homeownership is still the primary way to create wealth in the United States. We are never going to close the racial wealth gap, which is what I read in an article. I think the same article you're quoting, Margaret, was that it takes 11 and a half households to equal the wealth of one white household.
Yep.
We're never going to. That has to change. It just has to change. Secondly, housing nonprofit organizations like the Chicago Urban League and NHS can help eliminate the barriers to creating homeownership. But you got to come to us. You got to come to us. And then we can help you eliminate those barriers. And then lastly, the housing stock in the Chicago area are like diamonds in the rough. We have the most affordable, stable housing stock in our 1 to 2 units, actually. And the 2 units allow for income. So our housing stock is really a great way to become a homeowner and a small business owner.
And I agree, Deborah, because it's really, really important that, we do acknowledge the disparities and how we're affected disproportionately. I would invite you guys to our website. Our research and policy department just published a paper on the effects of COVID-19 on African Americans. And it's not surprising. Everybody knows that we were affected a lot more than any other race. So it doesn't take rocket scientists. And like people always challenge you, the African American always saying they're this and they're that. Well, we have research. So don't fight with us, fight with the research. The research is there. I invite you to that. Also, while you're there, Deborah just mentioned that back during the crises, more African Americans lost their homes than any other race, any other ethnicity. So that's why NHS and the Urban League are on the ground fighting for our people. We want to make sure that we can get to you guys, or you guys can get to us, so we can educate you on the different ways that you can not just become a homeowner, but a sustainable homeowner. It's important to know how much you can afford. It's important to know what are good areas for your children to go to school. All these things are important. So we have research available. Without my going into it, I invite you to our webpage, chiul.org, and look at those papers, those white papers. Don't be shocked. Just read them.
Awesome. And wow. Yeah. So, and it's great talking about that housing stock and trying to close that. I mean, education is so key. And there are so many myths that are out there, right? So many people think, oh, I have to have perfect credit to get in, you know, or, you know, well, I'm not sure what my FICO score is. Sit down and talk with someone, because we also know that, you know, in the African-American markets especially, those FICO scores tend to be a little lower, or they have thin files. That doesn't necessarily mean that that is a bad situation. It's just where they're getting their credit, because if they're going to get credit like at the payday station on the corner, you know, it's not giving them any kind of credit building, right, to increase that. So again, going back to education and getting them, you know, that space. That is awesome. So let's talk about some of the resources that we have available, that you guys have available, that folks can reach out. Because I hear that, you know, you guys are doing a lot of the home buyer counseling. You're doing the prep work as well, not only the counseling, but the education, that whole process. And I heard you say that you guys do work with IDA, providing that home buyer education in their space, which is phenomenal. Because that is a great 3% down program, right? Right, for those clients to be able to get into. There's also, you know, we also have our resources that you guys do, also our home buyer education for Home Possible, right? Which is a fabulous tool as well. Another 3% product. Or I know with you and Deborah, we're talking about those 2-unit properties, 2, 3, especially in the 1 and 2 unit properties. We have our Home Possible that they can utilize and get in with only 5% down, right? So to your point, it's easing their path to be able to get into a home with only 5% down and have an extra unit for income producing. Again, helping them generate wealth, right? I think that's absolutely phenomenal. I know I'm talking here. I mean to put this back to you. Tell me some resources. I'm sorry. We all three could talk a lot all day about all this stuff, right? So let me throw it back to you guys, because this is all about you, not me. Talk to us about the resources that you do have available and how people can reach you. I mean, granted, we do have the websites posted, and we will be sharing this so they can reach out to you, you know, each of your agencies. But talk to me about what you've got to help in this space. And how is it great for a realtor or realtress that happens to be on this line? How should they work with you? Either one. Deborah, Margaret, whoever.
So, you know, Chicago Urban League is a great organization, and we both do quality housing counseling, and we both do financial preparedness. And NHS launched a financial fresh start workshop. And so what we found is that as we were really helping people do the home buyers education, everybody wasn't really ready for home buyers ed. They really needed a fresh start. They needed to work on their credit, they needed to work on their budgeting, and they needed to work on saving some money. So really trying to help people get prepared even before they wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm going to buy a house today. It's like, no, let's look and see where you are. Let's give you an action plan to see exactly how you can get to become mortgage ready. We'll work with you along that path, and then you can say, we'll buy a house. The thing that I've noticed, the second thing is, I would say, is that down payment assistance. NHS provides a variety of different administrators, a variety of different down payment assistance programs. Basically, they either the banks, like we've done a Wells Fargo program, we've done Fifth Third, we've done the City of Chicago, administering that down payment, and that helps. I see that help people move from hesitancy and getting off the fence. Because as someone said earlier, having that down payment is important, and it helps them get into the house and get into it more affordably. And then the money that they have saved, they're able to use that as reserves in case something happens down the line. So in that way, we're really helping to create sustainability in homeownership. We're just not trying to get a person in to stay in for a year and then not care. We need, homeownership is changing our neighborhoods, right? They make them more stable. So it's really, it's two things. It's very dual. So I think the down payment assistance, I think the realtors knowing that we offer these programs and we can help their buyers become, is key.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I feel the same way, basically. The one thing that we do, as does my colleague at NHS, is we partner with the various lenders that come into our community. Because at the Urban League, we don't allow lenders to come into our community and not do business in our community. Once you open up shop there, either I personally or someone at the Urban League will visit you so we can see how we can partner, because we need you to know that if you're going to take money from our community, we also want you to put money back into our community. So we partner with most of the major lenders. I can't think of one that we do not partner with. And, of course, Sandra, that's under our Take Root Chicago program. That's how we're able to partner with those lenders. And the lenders know that the purpose of us partnering with them is so they can present some products for the low to moderate income buyer, African-American people of color. Any old program won't do. We need specialized programs because, again, we are disproportionately affected with income, credit scores, and a whole lot of other areas. So we need to make sure that we're not just partnering with the lenders, but that we have a relationship with them. So it's not transactional. Don't think you can give us a check and then we're going to do anything with you or allow you to do anything in the community. That's not going to happen. We will work together so our relationship is very much not transactional, although we do need the check, but it won't be just transactional. We want you to invest in our community because that's where we live. That's where our people live. And I can tell you that as it relates to homeownership too, IDA has some awesome programs for down payment and closing costs for first-time home buyers. And I think that the one thing that Deborah and I do is to make sure that we bring these programs to the forefront. So when you come to us and you're thinking that you don't have money for this, you don't have money for that, but we can point you in a direction to lenders who are going to treat you fairly and direct you to the down payment and closing cost programs.
And that is fabulous. And that is such a great way to wrap all of this up, because that's the one thing that's so important, to have that trusted advisor to speak with and to work with, knowing that the real estate professionals can refer and they know that they are in good hands with you guys.
Yeah,
I want to thank you. Yep, and I want to thank you, ladies, so very much for joining us. And Marlena, let me turn it back to you.
Yes, so thank you so much, Margaret and Deborah, for joining us today. I do have two questions before we go into our resources. Does the Chicago Urban League have any volunteer needs or opportunities for realtors to get involved in homebuyer education or other efforts?
So I would like to speak to that person one-on-one, because even though we do, there are some expectations that we do have, because we're going to provide excellent service. And I'm sure the realtors are ready for that, because that's what our realtors do. They provide excellent services. I would like to connect with that person one-on-one.
Okay, perfect. Well, we can send over that information or their contact information. And then one last question. Do you guys have chapters or partners in the Georgia area?
I know
and that's directed to the both, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I know our lenders, most of our lenders, right, Deborah, have offices all over the place, correct? Deborah?
Are they talking about the nonprofits, though?
Yes, yes.
And the Urban League has affiliates all over the place. So there are different affiliates in Georgia, as are in many other states.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
And likewise for Deborah, right?
Yes, they're absolutely through NeighborWorks America. You're going to have NHSs or other names, but they're nonprofit housing organizations throughout the country. It's about 232 entities.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I know we're right at the top of the hour, so I just want to finish up very quickly, and then I have Young who is going to close us out. But I want to thank you again, ladies. We appreciate your time. I hope that everyone walked away with some information today. It's really important to know what's available in your local community so that you can continue to grow your business as well as be a resource to your community. So thank you again for attending. So the next slide, I just want to remind you, because we are still going through an active pandemic, and we know that there are still hardships that are being faced in the community from either your past clients or even current people that you come in contact with. So we came up with an interactive initiative called #HelpStartHere. This really is a great interactive tool to send clients to that will help them identify exactly what options or solutions are available to fit their specific needs regarding any hardship. How you can utilize this in your day-to-day business is to understand what actually is available, the options that is available to the community, so that you can continue to be that trusted advisor. Next slide. And then finally, if you are not already signed up, please go ahead and sign up for our Real Estate Professional Resource Center. Freddie Mac has actually created this designed to help real estate professionals grow in your business, stay ahead of the curve with all the latest and greatest information, get the information regarding any insights that can better help you with your business, as well as to stay up on all of the trends. So sign up to receive any news or information today. So I'm going to turn it over to Young very quickly to go ahead and close this out. But thank you, Illinois Realtors, for your partnership. We appreciate all of this, and we look forward to working with you again soon.
Thanks, Marlena. Also, would like to thank all of our panelists today for sharing these great resources with us, and to Freddie Mac for partnering with Illinois Realtors on this webinar series. As Marlena mentioned earlier, this is the third webinar in a three-part series. So if any of our attendees were unable to view the first two, they are on our website. So please visit our website, illinoisrealtors.org. We've got recordings there of the first two. The third one will go up as well. And then we'll have some resources there posted for you too. With that, we'll close out the webinar. Thanks again to our panelists and to our Realtor members for attending, and to Freddie Mac for partnering with us on this. With that, I'll just say stay safe and stay healthy, everyone. Goodbye.